The White Lotus Season 3 ending has to be the saddest ending in White Lotus history. Sure, we knew people had to die, or at least somebody had to die, and we knew it was going to be somebody that we actually cared about, but still, even so, when it all was said and done, it still hit me hard. How'd you feel about it? What's the deal, my people? You know what it is, Don 20 Teflon. I'm back at you, another one, and this one is the White Lotus Season 3 finale. We're going to break it all down to you, and I'm going to give you my opinions and my thoughts of the finale and my thoughts of the season as a whole. Let's get right into it, dealing with the Radcliffes. Now, we knew that the Radcliffes had their fair share of problems, but in the end, it was truly just due to the father. It was his problems that he was projecting on his whole family the whole time without getting their input into it that really led to all of these events going down. And we seen the daughter that she truly wanted to go off and be a Buddhist and just try to be something more than what she was born to be. But in the end, you have to ask yourself the question, does your mother know you better than you know yourself? And that's what she gambled on, and in the end, when it was all said and done, the mother did know the daughter better than she knew herself. She knew that she would not be able to live that way, because it's all fine and good when you say you want to do something, but actually experience it and living it and doing it the way you're supposed to get done, it's really hard to do. So in the end, the daughter had to confess that she was nothing more than a princess and that she couldn't live without air conditioning. Now, as someone who has had air conditioning my whole life, I gotta say, I feel it on this one. I can't live without air conditioning either. But it's after this when the father has the conversation with his last son, and he says that he believes that he can live without money. Now, he's already talked to the daughter, and he's seen that she couldn't do it. He knew his wife couldn't do it, and he talked to his oldest son, and he couldn't do it. So he figures that's the only one who's going to live and survive our legacy. So he goes off and picks the suicide fruit. All season, he has been toying with the idea of annihilating his whole family. It's always been thinking about how he can do it, whether he shoots himself, shoots his wife, or whatever he was thinking. That's all he's been trying to contemplate. It's how he's going to take out his family, because he doesn't want them to live with the guilt of what he did, of this, the fact that they wouldn't have anything. So now I'm thinking, is this guy really gonna go through with this? So he gets all of the seeds and he starts to blend them up. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how many seeds does it actually take to kill someone? They don't give you that information, but he puts it inside the blender and he mixes it all up. And we all thought that the blender would come into play at some point this season. From everything we have seen, it had to be something dealing with this blender. And also we knew about the suicide fruit from the beginning of the season. So in the end, even though we seen all those shots with the guns, most likely I think most fans thought that it was going to go down. It was going to go down with some type of fruit or something to do with this blender. And we were all correct, because he goes out to dinner with his family, and while he's at this dinner with his family, he tells the waitress that he wants to have drinks back at their room, and not just any drinks, some pina coladas back at their room for her to bring the stuff there because it's their last night there. And even though the family thinks it's weird, he probably never ordered a pina colada in his life, but they go along with it. Why? Because they follow this man. They trust this man. This man has made them everything that they are to this day. And again, you're thinking, can he really go through with it? At least I am, and it seems that he's willing to do it, because he puts all the stuff inside of the blender, he makes all the drinks, and then passes them out to everyone in his family, except his youngest son. As I said, he made him drink a Coke because he said he was too underage to drink, too young, right? So that's how he got around that. But he gives them to everyone, and when he gave it to his daughter, I looked at it in his face, and I'm like, really? Your little girl, you're really about to do this to him just for your own shame and everything else? But yep, he gives it to him, and then I'm thinking, all right, they're not gonna go through it, they're gonna do something. But no, they all sit there, they have a big toast, and then they all start drinking this drink. And when they do start drinking it, it tastes funny to them, right? They don't want to drink it because they like, something's wrong with this right here. But he starts drinking his drink, and then they all start following in suit drinking this drink. But while they're drinking it, all of a sudden he comes to his senses and he smacks them all out of their hands and says, listen, y'all shouldn't be drinking this. This is not good. There's something wrong with the milk. The milk doesn't taste good, and y'all can't just drink this anymore. So after he smacks it all out of their hand, the wife is like, can we drink some wine? Can we drink something at least? So it seems a crisis was averted, but we knew the blender had to come into play at some point. And in the morning when Luke gets up and his brother's been teasing him the whole time how he's not a man and he has to make himself a man, this morning he decides that he is going to get himself a protein shake. And he does make himself a protein shake using that muscle milk protein, but the residue of that stuff is still inside the blender. He drinks it down. His family goes off to breakfast. His father is still sleeping. And all of a sudden, he starts to feel dizzy. And all of a sudden, he passes out. And he starts to see the light and see everything, his whole life basically flashing before his eyes, before his father comes down there and sees him. And it looks like this kid is going to be out of there. But by some miracle, and he says after this that he did see God, he is saved. And this is how it basically ends for the Ratliff family. The man almost murders his whole family, but in the end, luckily, his son was saved. This was probably my second favorite storyline in this whole thing. I did think the daughter was going to bite it. I really thought it was going to be her, that she would be the one. But in the end, for none of them, nothing bad to happen to any of them. I mean, he has to live with the fact that he almost killed his whole family. But in the show context of us watching, nothing really bad happening to none of them. I mean, I'm glad this, I don't want to say like I wanted the son to die. Of course not. But I think it would have been more impactful if something happened to their family, to something else. That's my feeling. You tell me what you think. Dealing with my favorite storyline in this show, and the only character I give a goddamn about in this show, my homegirl Chloe. We could all hope to have someone that loved us in our life the way Chloe loved this dude Rick, who she says was her soulmate. Rick gets back, he tells her about what happened, says that he did not shoot the guy. She is very pleased that he did not go through with it. And she tries to tell this man over and over again, forget about the past, forget about the love you lost. Focus on the love that you have, and it's right here in front of you, in me. So you're thinking to yourself, maybe this man has grown up. Maybe that was going to be his whole journey. That he was going to be able to grow up, let go of all that stuff in the past. But nope, Jim shows up, and when Jim confronts him and tells him straight up, I think your mom's a little slutty, and I remember her, and you didn't miss anything about your father. Your father was a no good guy. You didn't miss anything. He cannot let this go because he says that. He just can't let it go. But he tries to go and see the therapist, but the therapist is in a session. So we get the full 360-degree situation here that if he was able to get into the therapy that he couldn't get into, all these things that happened after this would have never happened. And he just goes off the handle. Even though Chloe comes and tells him not to do it, he runs up on him, shoots Jim dead. Jim's wife turns and says, he's your father. He told me he was your father. And I think all of us knew this. I said this, and I'm sure a bunch of other people predicted that he would be the father in the end. And when you heard him say the line, your father wasn't that good of a guy, you didn't miss anything, you knew right then, I knew right then, that 100% this was going to be his father. After this, we get into a big shootout with the bodyguards. He's returning fire when they're firing on him. He grabs Chloe by the hand. They're running behind stuff, trying to hide. He's doing a good job shooting back. He turns and he looks over his shoulder, and he sees that Chloe has been shot and basically fatally wounded. He goes down on his hands and knees, and then all of a sudden, I guess now he realizes how much he truly cares about this woman when she's about to die. He picks her up in his arms, and then that's when Guycock comes around the corner and the wife is telling him to shoot him, to kill him. He pulls the gun on Rick while Rick is holding Chloe, trying to walk away with him. And let's go into Guycock real quick. So Guycock's whole thing is he's been sipping over this chick the whole season, right? And he's been battling with, is he truly a Buddhist? And Buddhist, he's not supposed to hurt people, not supposed to kill, but his job is asking him to do such, because when he's confronted by Valentine earlier in the episode, because he figures out who he is, Valentine tells him, like, listen, you can't turn me in. Please don't turn me in and my friends. We have no money. They'll send us back to our country and we're going to be killed there. So he doesn't think that he can do this job. He doesn't feel like his morals and his job are in line, and that's why he tries to quit. But in the end, he comes to grips with everything that he's doing, and he does shoot Rick dead. Rick falls into the water with Chloe, and those two story is over. And I understand exactly why they did this. I understand what the writers were going for, but I am not cool with Chloe dying whatsoever. But I understand why someone innocent had to go in this show. So it's two loves lost right at that particular time, and then Guycock winds up getting the bodyguard job, and now he has to give up his girl because he's not going to be on the island anymore. He's just going to be driving her around. So in the end, he chose to advance in life over his faith and over his girl in love. And that brings us to Belinda and Greg Gary, that whole storyline situation. So her son is with her and he wants to go negotiate the deal with her, which I think is a good deal. But in the end, I thought that this was not going to end well for them. How could it basically end well for them? So they go into the negotiations and they ask for not $100,000, but $5 million, which is 1% of what the money Gary Gregg got from killing his wife. And it doesn't seem like this is going to go through. They give him the banking and the routing number, and she keeps checking on her account to see if the money goes through. And in the morning, the money actually does go through. And he agrees to pay them this money, and she agrees to keep her mouth shut. But then she has a dilemma with her boyfriend, or somewhat boyfriend, the guy she has been sleeping with there. But in the end, she tells him, I gotta go back. Situations have changed now, and I don't know if I can do that business with you anymore, partner. See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. And I think, in the end, this is what has happened. Everyone's had to make a trade-off for something in this show, whether it's love for money or money for love. So you all had to trade something off, and that's exactly what happened in this show in the end. Dealing with the chatty patties, I really don't even want to get into them because I didn't like that storyline at all. But in the end, they just became friends. It was more about accepting the life you already lived and appreciate the life you already lived, even though you made some bad choices along the way, some good choices along the way, and some in between. Accept the whole life as a whole and be happy that you have the time with the people that you love. And I think that's what the whole story is for this whole situation, for this whole season of White Lotus. Even though Chloe basically died twice for this guy. She got bit by a snake and then shot dead. Don't like it. She's the only character I enjoyed in the show. Overall, I would say it was a good season. Not as good as season one. Hard to do that. They focused a lot more on mystery instead of character development, in my opinion. That's why I said there's only really one character that I cared about in this whole situation, and that was Chloe. The rest, I could leave them. You know what I mean? And that's the way I felt about it. But overall, I give it about, 7.5 for the whole season. But you let me know how you feel in the comments. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.